योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोक्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि आबाहुपुरुषाकारं शङ्खचक्रासिधारिणं सहस्रशिरसं श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिं। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। हरि ओम। All of you take the head down, put the palms down. A very good evening to all of you. And again, it's another interesting topic today. I'm really looking forward to all the questions that are going to be asked today on behalf of all the students. And it's going to be more of an interactive question answer session. And I think Hitesh is here to represent all of you. So, would you like to say a few words, Hitesh?
Yeah, namaskar everybody. So, ma'am does not need any introduction, but welcome to this series of lectures that we are having for the benefit of everybody. And today's topic, as you all know, we're going to be discussing Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga is a very interesting topic because it's all over the place, it's all over the world, and everybody is into Ashtanga Yoga. You know? So, I really wanted to be on today's talk with ma'am, essentially to understand a lot about Ashtanga Yoga. I also have questions, and I'm sure that even all of you have questions. So let's get on to it and see where these questions take us, and hopefully we get the answers as well. Okay, so good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Hitesh.
So Ashtanga Yoga. Can you explain a little bit about Ashtanga Yoga? What is Ashtanga Yoga? Why Ashtanga Yoga? How I mean, there are many questions, but if you could just start with
Okay.
what is Ashtanga Yoga?
Before that, my question is to all of you, and as he's representing all of you, I'll ask him, what yoga are you doing, Hitesh?
Ma'am, I am doing Ashtanga Yoga. So
Are you sure about it?
yeah, it's basically yoga is all one, and as Guruji is taught that we have a lot of Hatha Yoga in it, we have Ashtanga Yoga in it, and I can keep going about it, because Hatha Yoga is a part of Ashtanga Yoga, and if you talk about it, I'm doing Ashtanga Yoga, Iyengar Yoga School is doing Ashtanga Yoga, it is the yoga of Patanjali, so to say.
So he's representing all of you all, and he says that he's doing Ashtanga Yoga. So are you all also doing, those who are studying with us, have you all ever seen, have you all ever looked into that what class of yoga you are doing? Because today there are so many different types of yogas available in the market. Anyway, let's not go there. But even before talking about Ashtanga Yoga, what is yoga? What is yoga? What is yoga? So let's go back, and first of all is yoga comes from a Sanskrit root called as yuja. So yuja is something to connect to, something that you join, something that you concentrate upon, and something that is a union. Okay, so that is, so the root, it comes from yuja, it's a Sanskrit root, and it means something that you unite with. Okay, so that is.
Isn't that, ma'am, huge? That is a common word that is used for the definition of yoga. I have heard you say huge
Yeah,
for the definition.
so that is the definition that is used. So it is a union. Okay. Now union of what? Now this yoga has been going on since thousands and thousands and thousands of years. To begin with, it is a darshana. Okay, it is one of the 6 orthodox darshanas by Patanjali. So it was formulated, so since thousands of years yoga has been there, but approximately 2500 years ago sage Patanjali put forth the science of yoga in a very systematic form in 196 sutras. Okay?
Which we call the Yoga Sutras.
Which we call the Yoga Sutras.
Right.
Again, getting back to what is yoga, it is a darshana. Okay?
So darshana is basically a philosophy.
A philosophy is an intelligent or intellectual inquiry. Okay? And a darshana is an experimentative knowledge which takes you towards a transformation.
Right.
Okay? So what does it mean that yoga is a darshana? It is an experimentative knowledge. It is not only theory. It is something that you experience. Philosophy is an intellectual inquiry. Okay? It could be a debate. It could be more of a theory-based knowledge. So we have 6 schools of darshanas, the orthodox systems or the orthodox philosophies also they are called as, and Patanjali's yoga is one of them. Okay, so we looked into yuja, that is the root,
That is the root.
Sanskrit root.
So basically the yuja root, so before we come to Ashtanga Yoga, we have yuja.
Yes.
And then from yuja stemmed yoga.
Yes.
And then from yoga stemmed Ashtanga Yoga.
Yes.
And Ashtanga Yoga is one of the 6, in simple words, philosophy, which is not a philosophy but rather an inquiry and an experiment of the self.
Yes.
To do what?
Okay, so we are getting there. So as I told you that it is a union, it is a darshana, and it is a pragmatic science also. Okay, what is a pragmatic science? It is something which it's not theory, it's not theory based. It is a realistic science which comes up with experience, and it has been there for thousands and thousands of years, from thousands and thousands of years ago. It is to unite. Now, you asked me for what? Okay?
Yeah.
So there are 3 main principles involved in the darshanas. One is the Ishvara, okay? The main God, the main soul, okay? The most powerful existence. Then is Purusha and Prakriti. So all the darshanas revolve around these 3 main principles, okay? And yoga is a journey to stay in this Prakriti, and it is the union of the Purusha with the immortal soul, that is the Ishvara. So the whole theory is around this. Now, what are we doing here?
Yeah, it's a little complicated because
Yes.
when you say, ma'am, like I'm sure all of you also have this question, like, what is Purusha, man? I mean, okay, Purusha is there, and then you have Prakriti, and all that is there, but you know, I'm just here, and I want
Yes.
to.
So we have to
So,
step back.
When you say,
And
ma'am, if you're
this
doing.
exactly, Hitesh, that's what I'm trying to say, is we have to understand a little bit of theory also, okay? So when we are defining Ashtanga Yoga, it cannot be just said as these are the 8 limbs of yoga, tuck, 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 this is the way it works. But we have to step back and get into an inquiry and understand that what is yoga and what is the main theme that deals, what is it that we deal with in yoga? Is it only the body that we are used to today? Is it only the hands and the legs and the spine? Is it only therapy? Is that what is yoga? But no, the main principles are around this. Okay? So we won't elaborate on the principles, but just keep this in your mind that it is a knowledge. Now, when you look at God, God has been defined in the Yoga Sutras as the manifest existence of something which is within all of us. Okay? And it is this natural existence of me, let me simplify it in a very common terminology, that me going within me to meet the God. Okay? If God exists in all of us, my effort to go to see the light within. Don't we hear these things that see the light within and look out for the goodness within, look out for the God within. So
Yes.
let us say that in very, very common terminology, it is the journey inwards to see the light within. Okay, this is the modern today's
Yeah, but-
help that I'm giving you,
Right.
but the main principles that sometimes we have to look on in these darshanas, the main principles involved are around Ishvara, Purusha and Prakriti. Okay, and Patanjali in his 196 aphorisms which define and the whole journey of reaching towards the final emancipation. It has been divided into 4 chapters, and the 4 chapters define the process. Now, the reference of Ashtanga Yoga comes in the 2nd chapter, which is called as sadhana. Now, we all know the word sadhana. Is sadhana practice? And we have heard Prashant sir defining what is sadhana, and he clearly says that there are no English translations
He's
for
always
sadhana.
said that there is no English word for
So it is something like a devotional practice, a reverential practice, and that is sadhana. So in the 2nd chapter of the Yoga Sutras, we have a reference of Ashtanga Yoga. Okay, Hitesh? Now, Ashtanga Yoga is the
So,
8 limbs.
I'll just recap, ma'am, over here because
Okay.
one can get a little lost because what essentially we are living in 2020 in very uncertain times. So when we come to 2020 from maybe 5,000 years ago from Yuj and then coming to the darshanas and then coming to yoga and then coming to our practice of Ashtanga Yoga, right? So that's where we are at the
Yes.
moment. So now you're telling us how, or are you going to tell us how it's relevant in today's times? Like you were going to say that with the age?
Definitely, definitely. It is.
Because 5,000 years back, I'm sure times were different.
Yes.
And
So when you look at darshana, the whole, it is for you to explore your journey, for you to experience a transformation. And if you look at it in a theory manner, in a subjective manner, the whole foundation has been put forth very beautifully. Okay? So there are steps, and that is what we could talk about, but only if you are ready for that, or if you want to ask me some more questions. See, it is all about the growth. First of all, it takes us a lot of time in today's world, because you got up this topic of reference to today's era, today's world. It takes us a lot of time to first choose the school of yoga, isn't it? It's like there is something on the shelf and you want to choose a brand. So you as an individual look at 6 different brands and then choose a certain school of yoga. After you choose a certain school of yoga, your growth, we all have an innate nature. That's what I've learned from my gurus, that you have an innate nature. If you get the right, you go to the right place at the right time, the knowledge will come to you. Okay? So when you are in this whole dilemma of choosing the right school, practicing the right form, having the right experiences, then the right knowledge is bound to come to you. And then a quest, it is a quest, okay? What I also wanted to say in the philosophy and darshan, that it is a quest for wisdom, it is a quest for knowledge. So today also, when you come into a yoga class, you join a yoga class, you do experience certain moments of neutrality, certain moments of bliss, and you do get into what is happening.
Internet.
Should I do my hotspot?
I'm putting my this also.
Yeah, then I'll put my hotspot on my thing too.
I've put mine also. You can also put. You know. Okay.
Here, I've come here.
Yeah. Okay. I think there was some problem again with the.
Ma'am, can you unmute yourself?
So can you tell us, Devanshi? Ma'am was answering a question. Where was she exactly?
Ma'am was that when you choose the school.
Okay, about the schools. Okay. So ma'am, you can.
Okay, so we are ready to go on now?
Yeah, it seems like. Yes, ma'am.
So,
Okay, so Devanshi, we are just back on. There was some drop in the internet. So, all right.
Is that okay? Can I continue?
Okay. Yes, you can continue now.
Okay. So when you choose the school, you choose a particular school to practice your yoga, it all is in your own growth. Maybe the quest within you, the fire within you, the hunger within you is going to get you to the subject. And then there will be questions. Right now, the questions when people enter a yoga class is it going to benefit my diabetes? Is it going to benefit? The approach is this present now, it has to heal me with my problems. And if I am rid of my problems, then yoga is good. That time there is no deeper thought. Hitesh, are you with me?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
that time there is no deeper thought about if I have diabetes, from where is it originated? Okay?
Right.
So when you come with a body to practice yoga, you know that you have diabetes. But do you know from which organ? Why has diabetes come? Which is the organ that is creating a problem? Okay? Now, the yoga has a detailed study of the full body. And that is why this Ashtanga Yoga, the limbs, is like going from the cave, inside the cave, inside the cave, inside the cave, to touch the core within. Where you, as I said, that it's about the union, it's about going to the light, which you're not interested in today, right? You're interested in either losing weight or you're interested in curing an organic disorder. But the good point is, when this is happening, there is another transformation happening inside you. You have probably lost some fat. You have probably gained a better health over your organic problems. Also, there is a shift in the mind. You choose to eat healthy. You choose to go for a walk. You choose to, so there is a conditioning that happens on the mind. And that is what is naturally happening as steps of Ashtanga Yoga. Its only thing is that we don't know the theory.
So that's my question now, because when you're telling, okay, fine, it's going to take care of diabetes. So my question was going to be that, is that all Ashtanga Yoga? Because we are specifically trying to understand what is Ashtanga Yoga. And then, okay, if somebody like a completely raw person, a completely new person asks me, what is Ashtanga Yoga? I'm not going to explain to them that, it's going to take care of your diabetes, it's going to take care of your this, it's going to take care of your that. But I know that Ashtanga Yoga for me personally has helped a lot. But how can I put it across in a very simple way to that person that, okay, Ashtanga Yoga mein, this is what it is. And, because this is one question as a beginner, I never knew what Ashtanga Yoga was. I just knew one yoga, that was power yoga. So going out and doing 50 Surya Namaskars, 100 Surya Namaskars and sort. And when I came into, doing the Iyengar methodology, I was shocked. Okay, and then I learned it was Ashtanga Yoga. And then of course I learned from you and I got down to studying, etc. But in today's time, one question is there, I'm sure a lot of, all of you also would have, is that what is the most simplest way one can explain Ashtanga Yoga so that it can be applied?
Okay.
It can be applied. See, I'm doing Ashtanga Yoga and I know that this application of my Ashtanga Yoga is going to benefit me, in what I'm doing basically. I'm doing Ashtanga Yoga so that there is some end to it, there is some goal, there is some benefit to it.
So let me tell you very frankly, okay? First of all, you cannot choose and do it like that. That, okay, I am doing Ashtanga Yoga and I want to explain it to people. There is a sadhak that is required here. There is a practitioner that is required here.
Okay, yeah, practitioner is a better word.
Yes.
I would not prefer a
And
sadhak.
who is a practitioner, right? A practitioner is a person who practices regularly. How does he practice? He practices with what I told you on last Monday. Follows a little bit of discipline in life. And then there is a discipline in your daily behavior, daily acharya and daily food intake. Then somewhere you become, by practicing asanas, then practicing pranayam, you reach a level where your quest is going deeper to understand Ashtanga Yoga. And that time you can explain it to somebody, okay?
Right.
You can talk. Now how will you tell a completely new beginner or person who's not interested and doing another form of yoga, and you want to say, you know what, this is Ashtanga Yoga and this is going to help you. Now there are 8 steps involved, Ashtanga, 8 steps, 8
Correct.
limbs of this system, okay? Before practicing or before telling what is Ashtanga Yoga, before I told you what is yoga, okay?
Yes.
Now I need to tell you the body. Finally, asanas are done on the body, right?
Okay, so
Okay.
just one more pause, ma'am, over there. We are talking about the body as in the physical body, this body.
Exactly, that's what I'm telling you. Okay, so listen.
So,
body
first
is.
we spoke about Yuj.
Yes.
Yuj got us to Ashtanga Yoga, and now we are talking about the body.
Body.
Okay.
So I will connect the body and the yoga, and then you will understand how Ashtanga Yoga is
Okay.
a transformation.
Fair enough.
Listen, how Ashtanga Yoga is a transformation from the body to the yuja.
Okay, fine.
You
We are
got
ready,
it?
ready
You
for
get
it.
the connect now? So you need to understand that how your body is involved in this, and how your body, when you know what your body is going to connect you to the yuja, that is yoga. So what is this body? Okay. Now the body is, in terms of yoga, is divided. Let's say there's a gross body where you can see your hands, your legs, your perception, or your senses of perception, and then there is a subtle body, which is the mind. Okay.
Okay.
And
Subtle, which we cannot see.
which you cannot see. So you cannot define abstract, and that is why to explain certain things in yoga without experience is difficult. But we are trying to give it a word. So there is a subtle body, and beyond that is your Karana Sharira, where resides the light. Okay? So when you start your practice,
Alright.
so let's say the body has these 3 layers. Besides that, there is an outer layer of the body. You can feel your skin, you know, you have joints, you have muscles, which feed on what? It is the food. The food you eat goes to that portion, right? After that, there is one more food you take in, the breath.
Yes, and
Yes.
that's the most important
Yes,
thing.
so that is
Without food,
another
you can
food that you
survive.
take, which goes in and it supports. That is the second sheet. So now we are going to the sheets. First I told you about the 3 types of body. Is it difficult, the 3 types of body, or the 3 parts, like the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body?
Okay.
Okay, the causal body is abstract. So just imagine there is a causal body, but subtle body you can relate to?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Now I spoke about, let's look in terms of food. So the food that you eat is the first kosha, the Annamaya kosha. The second food is the breath, that is the Pranamaya kosha. Now when you look at things, when you hear things, that is also food, right? You are consuming an ahara from your senses.
Yes.
I spoke a little about this probably in the first lecture where diet was concerned. That is the food for whom? For the
Senses.
mind. Okay? So that becomes your Manomaya kosha. Now when all these 3 foods go inside, maybe not the gross, but the breath and the mind, there is something that is getting triggered, and that is the intellectual sheath. Okay? So besides those 3 levels of the body, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, there are these various sheaths of the body. And this is the transformation that happens. The first transformation you will see is on your bones, on your joints, on your
So basically,
muscles.
ma'am, just to interrupt, sorry. You're saying that by the practice of Ashtanga Yoga, I'll be able to experience from the grossest body to the most subtlest body of
Yes,
mine.
yes,
Is that what you're saying?
yes.
Okay.
That is
So-
what I'm saying. And I'm referring it to a simple example of food.
So basically, yeah, now we are, so to say, that we are in the most grossest form at the moment. Most of us, not you.
No.
Most of us, we are in the grossest living form because we are more interested in our food, we are more interested in the way we look, the hands, the legs, etc.
So that's what it is. You know, you feel that you are entertaining the grossest part. Okay, like he's saying, okay, we are in that. But just think, haven't you experienced a moment when you feel complete bliss in Halasana, in Sarvangasana, in Shavasana, in Supta Baddha Konasana? There may be a very, very small fraction of a second where you feel complete neutrality, where you feel quietude, where you feel good after the class. Is that good same as after eating gulab jamun good? We feel good after eating gulab jamun also, but we feel good after a good halasan also. Can you relate to these two differences?
Yeah, I personally can relate to it, but I
No,
would
but
like you to continue.
yes, what I have learned in all these years of experience of teaching is people do experience these changes, and these changes are for a few seconds. Why? Because your capacity is only that much. Yoga you will understand only as per your capacity. And for that, Prashant sir gives us very good examples. He says when you are eating pickle in a plate, you will eat it only like a pickle. You cannot eat it like a main course, otherwise you will have indigestion. The experiences of the subtle mind, of the calm mind, of your virtuous nature, of the person who exists inside you who wants to naturally follow the yama and niyama, which are the first two steps of Ashtanga Yoga. You meet that person, Nitesh. When your practice of asanas is correct, you meet that existence inside you. Don't you feel good after a yoga class? Don't
I
you
do
feel
feel
calm? Don't you feel on that particular day when you have practiced well to stay a little aloof, a little calm with yourself? Don't you think it's easier to take decisions, to follow a good day, to go by, finish the jobs that you have to do? So isn't there a nature which is churned out from within? It's not externally a mother telling you that don't do this, or a father or a teacher telling you.
Because it
But
comes
there
from the
is,
self.
yeah, it comes from the self.
Right, but then again, ma'am, this is fine. So I've understood the concept of Ashtanga Yoga, which is basically taking me step by step from the gross to the most subtle.
But I didn't say anything about Ashtanga Yoga still. But you
Okay.
still understood the concept.
Probably because when I've studied with you and I've been there, but
Okay.
the way you were explaining about the body and then the subtle body and
Yes.
then subtler and it goes to the causal body. So
So how do you
somewhere-
go? Do you want to know practically what happens?
My question is that not to know practically because see I know gulab jamun is available everywhere
Hmm.
outside. I can just go and get a quick fix. Maybe I won't feel as good as a halasan, but for me to feel that goodness in a halasan is going to take me 15 minutes, and for a gulab jamun is going to take me 5
So
seconds.
you know what is that is called? It is called as Sattva Guna. So yoga is, I spoke about gunas in the last Monday evening class. I spoke about gunas, that how the body feels heavy, light and extremely light. Heavy, active and light. And I gave you an example of the monsoon season where the body is a lot in Rajoguna. Okay. Now for you to understand the difference between the goodness of a gulab jamun and the goodness of a good breath is where the sattva is existing. So for us to cover this journey is like walking from the entry of a temple, of a mosque, of a church, wherever, of a gurudwara. There is a process. You remove your footwear, you probably wash your feet, and then you go to the inside sanctum sanctorum. Okay? Now, it's up to you. If your body is light and you can take in the light, you will observe a lot of things there. You will feel some energy there. Now, this is all abstract, but I'm giving you an example. The same feeling you can have on your mat after you practice an asana, where your alignment is correct, where you have followed the anatomy, the muscles, you've aligned your body and placed your body in a position. What will happen at that time? That time the second food, that is the breath, the third food, that is the mind, and the fourth, that is the intelligence that is churned, is all going to start working.
Right.
And you are going to have an experience of lightness, that is sattvika. You are going to have an experience of a certain light within where you feel, yes, I am calm inside. Yes, I can be with myself and I can breathe and I cannot think of anything. And that somewhere today you can relate to your achievement.
Sorry.
Now, these are the steps. So first is yama, second is niyama, third is asana, fourth is pranayama, fifth is pratyahar. Now, let's go back to going to the temple, mosque, gurudwara, church, whatever. Okay? Let's say an auspicious place. Let's talk about going to an auspicious place. There are steps involved. First you go externally, you remove your footwear, you leave your belongings. What is it? External. What is it? Bahiranga. External. Second is you walk. From that, after you have left, you have to have a journey. Initially, we have to ask so much at these places. We want this, we want that, we want that. That is somewhere an internal deepest desires within you, right? So that is called as the antaranga. Okay? Just remember this. And the third is you reach that innermost chamber, which is the antaratma. And when you reach there, we just forget all the worries and we just surrender. There is a feeling of surrender. Wherever we reach, it could even be going into your mother's feet. It could be going into your teachers, at your teacher's feet. But you have this process. There's a process. Even when we go to our teacher's feet to bow down, there's a process. We leave belongings, we leave the footwear and we go there. Ashtanga Yoga, you can relate it to something like that. Yama.
Now it's
Yes.
more clear.
Yama is something like where you control your hands, you have a withdrawal, a restraint, control of this external body. Niyama, control on the senses of perception, that is niyama. Okay? Asana, you place your body for a discipline, stay there. How do you stay there? Is it a dwindling mind, too many thoughts? You stay there with sthira, stability, and sukha, happiness, contentment. Not even happiness, with contentment. And Guruji relates this, he relates stability to something as the first point, that is the truth, satya. If you are truthful on the mat, you will experience stability. In what terms truthful? We could go on speaking on that, but I'll break the link. So I don't want to break the link. I'll stick to my link.
Okay.
Okay? So we completed yama, niyama, asana, and then is pranayama. So all these are the external. You are preparing, you are collecting, you are leaving the belongings outside. You have taken a position, but to cleanse yourself inside, to remove the impurities and to take your energy. When we go to a teacher, when we go to the Sanctum Sanctorium, don't you think the energy builds up? That time if you do not have the energy, you are not going to receive the energy. You feel there is a different feeling that time. So it's same thing in pranayama. It rises your energy. It drives away the impurities from deeper level. Which deeper level? Don't we talk in Shavasana Pranayam class? Remove the carbon dioxide, exhale a little more and more. And in that you feel somewhere that you've exhaled and you just feel empty. Now that is the same thing as walking from Bahiranga to Antaranga. And then what happens? When you exhale completely, probably there is a full stop. You don't want to eat anything. That means there is complete withdrawal and I want to see the light. Oh, I want to meet my Guru. You have sort of left yourself and are aspiring to see that light.
Yes.
That is your pratyahar. Now when you see the light, when you see the Guru, what happens? Concentration. That is it. This is what I wanted to see. This is what I wanted to feel. Dharana. Then you soak in it for some time. You just become that. You forget everything that you thought you wanted to ask your God, your idol, your teacher. That is dhyana. You become the teacher for some time. You become that person. You become that energy. You don't exist. And then when all this is compiled together and you are just there but you are not there but you have completely dissolved, that is samadhi. Now, this, all of of this together.
Not to digest
All
because
no, but
we have already
Hitesh-
come to samadhi.
But Hitesh, all of that together can happen on the mat.
Exactly.
So when you come and your classes begin and we say, okay, stand, spread your feet apart, take your mind on the feet, take your mind on the calf, take your mind on the arms. What is it? It is a preparation. Unless and until you do not scan, accept violence. So much of violence in my feet, so much of violence, overextending the arms. It takes many, many classes. Well, I have grown up listening. It takes many lifetimes. Prashant sir speaks directly in lifetimes. So he says that it's not even in classes. It will take you lifetimes to understand what is ahimsa. Okay? What is satya? What is asteya? What is brahmacharya? What is aparigraha? And all that. And then Guruji has said that all this has to happen in asanas. It has to happen in this yoga, and that is how it is a chain, Hitesh. It is a chain, and a chain has links, right? If you break a link, what happens? No chain. So Ashtanga is like a chain.
So I do get the understanding, ma'am, when you told me about these examples that it leads you from the exterior to the outer walls of the temple, inner walls of the temple, then you're approaching the deity, and then after that you go into the sanctum sanctorium, and if you're lucky, then you are in that complete vacuum where you have nothing but just you and the Lord. So I have actually experienced this kind of feelings in asanas, because once you start, I think even the sequencing that happens, you start with stretches. When I'm doing my personal practice, I'm saying, not taking a class. When I'm doing my personal practice, I get into 1 asana, 2 asana, 3 asana. Then by the time I'm in my Shirshasana, somewhere I've started walking towards the deity. And by the time I'm in a halasana and staying there for a long time, I do experience a complete blankness. But my question over here, okay, besides my question also, because this is too much to digest, I think we can also open up to questions over here. So if any of you all have questions, please type it down and, put it onto the chat, and then Devanshi, you can look into the question and probably you can ask the question aloud and ma'am can answer. Meanwhile, while that is happening, I will continue with my question. So I have felt that bliss. I have come to that one level where I'm feeling quite meditative. I'm feeling bliss. I'm feeling happy. It's much more than a gulab jamun, no doubt. But once I come out of that particular thing, it is also as quickly taken away from me as the pleasure of a gulab jamun.
Yes.
So or a pleasure of coming out of the sanctum sanctorium of a deity. So once I step out of my halasana, let's say, which I've been there for half an hour, it sustains a little longer, maybe like 5, 10, 15 minutes. This is what students have said, and then it disappears. You're back to that same normal person with the, coming back to the body, or entertaining your outer body, or entertaining your senses, So how can we use Ashtanga Yoga in our daily life? So to make it
Well, to make it very, very practical, and not, when he was asking me the questions, the answers that I wanted to give, but that will go into too much of depth. To make it very, very practical, if you want to stay more in this, Hitesh,
That's
you
the
have
idea,
to
no?
study what is yama, what is niyama, okay? And this is not called as a practice, as we said, it is a sadhana. Now, the second chapter in Yoga Sutras is called as Sadhana Pad. But throughout the chapter, he has not used the word sadhana anywhere. He's not said do sadhana. Whereas,
No, he's
he
not.
has used the word as anushtan, anushasanam. He has used the words like reverential practice, devotional practice. He's used the word as discipline. The first chapter is all about abhyasa, is all about study, is all about discipline. So look the words that are around it. Are you ready to put yourself in a discipline? Why was the first lecture
So-
and the second lecture the second lecture?
Just-
So if you have felt that peace in halasana, it's up to
Right.
you. When are you going to go
So,
back to it?
I'm sorry to interrupt, ma'am. The question is not about me. I have the
Exactly,
time.
it is.
I can go back into an halasana for another half an hour. I don't
Yes.
mind. I have the time.
Yes, so it is
But-
for people who cannot get back into halasana constantly in the day. You do, and you should not also. It is that one point of satisfaction, of contentment, which you have to carry forward. and you have to try to use it in every aspect of your life.